to create a professional looking profile page, we're going to do a few things. The first thing I want to teach you is how to add a little nav bar at the top, a header, something that appears on almost every website you're ever going to go to. For instance, if you want to go to Nike's website, find Nike. Here's Nike. What do you notice about Nike? What do they have at the top if you go to the Nike website? They have this little nav bar up here with a bunch of stuff. See this? This little top section. If you go to YouTube, you'll see this little top section up here. You see that? If you go to, pick something, pick a website, Pinterest. You'll notice that every website on the internet has this common section up here, this top section, called a nav bar. And I'm going to show you how to create that very briefly. Ours is going to be a very average looking version of this, but it is going to work. Sound good? Let's do it. So the first thing you want to do, exit out of that for a second, is you're going to want to create an H1 here, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call mine aster.io, because that's the website I'm going to build. Now I'm going to write that in HTML, so it looks like this. But what if I wanted that text to be in the center? I want it to start in the center. Does anybody know how I would do that? Yeah, I would want it to tell it to go right or left. We haven't taught you how to do that yet, huh? I haven't taught you how to move things around on a page. So the first thing we need to do is we need to learn how to move this around on the page. And to do that, I'm going to give you a new CSS thing. It's called text align. And I'm going to tell this to text align center. And look what happens when I do that. Everybody see that? What happened when I told this to text align center? Where did it move? To the center. Yes. Try text align right. Text align left. You'll notice that this moves your text around on the page. This is just for text though. This only moves the text around on the page. It will not move other things like images. Just as a heads up. Everybody cool with that so far? What if I want to put some more stuff on my page? Like if it's a profile page about me, I'm probably going to want to put a little description of myself. Let's start with a paragraph tag, a little bio. And this is what you guys were doing in the previous lesson. You were making a biography about yourself, a brief little intro. I could say, hi, my name is Jeff Astor, and I am a computer science teacher from Los Angeles. I like nerdy things and food. That's a nice little bio about myself. But notice a few things here. What you'll notice is that my page doesn't really look that good. All the text goes all the way across the page. You notice that? The text goes from all the way on the left side to all the way on the right side. That just doesn't quite look as nice.
Can you scroll a little bit?
Yeah, sure. And if I look at the previous two examples that I gave you on websites, we switched this one to where the text goes all the way across the page to this one, where the text is right in the center. Does everybody see that?
Yeah.
So this might be a good thing to do for our page, huh? Let's do that. Let's make sure the text only goes across half the page. And we want to put it in a little box, sort of like this one right here. So to do that, I need to section off the page. To section off the page, we need to learn about a new HTML tag. This new HTML tag is called a div. And so I'm going to create one right here. I'm going to create this tag called a div. Now, a div tag stands for a divider tag. And I'm going to put everything else inside this div tag. And to show that it's inside it, I'm going to indent it like this. So that you can tell that this H1 and the paragraph tag are inside the div tag. What a div tag does is it divides everything else on the page. You see that? So this div tag right here separates everything else on the page from what's inside this div tag. Can we all see that? Now you'll notice that nothing has happened here, huh? Nothing happened on the page. Nothing changed. That's weird, right? I close it at the bottom. It's down there. I open it at the top, but nothing actually changed on my website. That's really interesting. But let's go ahead and add some style to our div and see what happens, shall we? I'm going to go in to my CSS, and I'm going to create some styles for this div. I'm going to give it a background of, let's say, brown, and see what happens. Oh, interesting. That is not a brown-looking color. Is there dark brown? No. Is there like, I don't know, chocolate? Maybe that's a color. Oh, that does not look like chocolate. That's like orange. Anyone else surprised by these colors? Now, if you want to find specific colors, let me show you a secret. Go to Google and type in chocolate color. And you'll get this Wikipedia page, and it'll give you this little hex triplet thing over here. Wikipedia will always have these colors for you. See this one here, this like hashtag something 7B3FOO? That's weird, right?
Is it like a hex color?
That is a hex color. A hex color is a very specific code for a color. So if I copy this little thing right here, if I type in chocolate color into Google, and I find this little hex code right there, I can then paste that in here instead, and that'll give me a chocolate color like that. Notice that? So you could pick any kind of color by Googling the color you want, or you can go to HTML color picker. And it'll allow you to pick all different kinds of colors. Literally any color you want, you can find it here. And it'll give you the hex code right there so that you can find that color. Cool? And it'll show you all the different things about the color. But all you really need to do is come in here, find the color you want. Boom, maybe that's the brown I want. That's the one I select. So I copy that, and I put it inside my div with the background. Bam, there we go. There's the brown I want. That looks lovely. All you need to do is Google HTML color picker, and it'll come up right here. Pretty nice, huh? So you can pick whatever color you want for whatever thing you want by looking for it. Now, the other thing I want to do is I'm going to make the color of all my text white. So that looks a little nicer. We cool with this so far? Now, you'll still notice my div element is right here. You can see now that the div has a background color and a normal color, but everything else outside it still has a background of white. Have you noticed that? What you notice, Mario, is that up here the div starts up here, and the H1 and the paragraph tag are inside the div. They go inside the div. If I take the H1 outside of the div, like this, notice how that is now up here and everything else is outside the brown div. You see that? A div is a divider. It divides everything else on the page. Cool? Now, what if I want to put this divider in the middle, this div in the middle? I can give it some styles. And the styles I were talking about are border, margin, and padding. And they can do some very, very nice things for your web page. Let me give you an example. You can give a div a margin. What if I want to move this to the center? You see how it's like goes across the whole page right now? Let's put it only in the center. Are you ready? I'm going to give it a margin dash left of 10%. Notice what happened right there. What just happened when I did that? It moved it 10% from the left. So I want you guys right now, how do you think you move it 10% from the right also? That's right. Margin dash right 10%. Cool. But notice how the words are like crammed right up against the side of the wall of the div? What if I want to move them away from the border of the div? Does anyone know what I would use? Anyone take a guess? We talked about there are three things: border, margin, and padding. Padding. Let's try the padding. Let's say padding left 10 or 5%. That looks nice. Let's do the same thing for padding right, padding top, and padding bottom. And now it looks a little bit like this. Maybe we put too much padding top and padding bottom. Let's give those 1% instead. Cool, that looks a little bit nicer. Now, what did I do to make that happen? So let's take a look at my code one more time. This is all the code I wrote. I gave this div a background color, a text color, some margin left, which moved it away from the wall on the left, some margin right, which moved it away from the wall on the right, some padding left, and some padding right, which moved the text away from the inside of the border, and some padding top and bottom, which moved them away from the top and bottom. Now I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to paste it into Slack for you all so you all have it. Because this might be a little confusing, and then I'll answer some of your questions. Is that cool? Perfect.